Okay, so we have these relationships in terms of x prime and y prime, called equation 1 and equation 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug these in to our original equation that is in terms of x's and y's, and we're going to solve for these x primes and y primes so that we can plot our ellipse in the x prime y prime space, and we'll know that it's been tilted at an angle of 60 degrees, and we'll plot it the same way we learned to plot before, ellipses before. Before I go on there, I just want to point out, I noticed an error. This should be positive here, not negative, which carries through to this positive. But it's the same methodology. So I'm going to take those two equations and I'm going to start plugging them in. So, for example, x squared, that's equation 1 squared, means I'm going to get x prime 1/2 x prime minus square root of 3 over 2 y prime squared. I add to that square root of 3 x times y, so I'll have equation 1 1/2 x prime minus square root of 3 over 2 y prime times y. So this was x squared, this is x, this is y, x times y. We have square root of 3 over 2 x prime plus y prime times 1/2. Okay, and then I've got plus 2y prime, so we'll carry that over down here, plus 2y squared. So this is my equation for y. This was my equation for x. Plus 2y squared is 2 times square root of 3 over 2 x prime plus 1/2 y prime squared. And then I can't forget, I have to also subtract off 10 equals 0. Okay, so this is the equation. Now I just have to multiply these out, and I will end up with a very big equation. So I end up factoring out a fourth, 1/4. This is going to be x prime squared minus 2 square root of 3 y prime x prime plus 3 y prime squared plus, now I'm over here, plus 3 x prime squared minus 2 square root of 3 x prime y prime minus 3 y prime squared plus 2 times 3 x prime squared plus 4 square root of 3 x prime y prime plus 2 y prime squared, and that all equals 10. So you might want to, I in my head was pulling out a 1/4 on all that. You might want to take an intermediate step and if you're working through on this, see how things work out. Okay, So this equals essentially 10 x prime squared minus 2 y prime squared equals 40. When you simplify it down, a lot of these cancel out. As you'll see, this cancels with this. We got 3y squared cancels with this. Actually, this and this added together cancel with this. So we're left with 2y prime squared, and then if I multiply this by 4 here and 4 on the other side, we end up with 40 here. And then we've got 5x prime squared so we've got this 6, 7, 8, 9, 10x prime squared. So that's where all this came from. So now this is starting to look really useful, because if I divide by 40 here, you will see I end up with an x prime squared over 4 minus a y, or plus, this is actually plus a y prime squared over 2 40s is 20 over 20 equals 1. So that's obviously an equation of an ellipse, but it's an equation of an ellipse in the x prime y prime space. So we can see in the y direction this is larger, square root of 20. And in the x direction this is only 2. So you can have an ellipse that looks something like this in our x prime y prime space. And then keep in mind, this whole thing has been rotated by 60 degrees from the x-axis. So this seems like a bit of a complicated process, but it's mostly understanding the transformation and then bookkeeping when you apply it. So let me end this video, and what we'll do is we'll do another video with a practice problem in it.